Looks like the YouTube's going now.
Okay.
All right. And Ramon, do you have an email address and phone number you can share every once in a while for people that might be having technical problems participating?
Sure. So,
Yeah. Don't need it now, but when we get to that point.
Okay. Yes.
Sounds good. Okay, well, let's get started. It is December 3rd, 2020, 3 o'clock p.m. I'm Phil Alberg's hearing examiner for the city of Lakewood. We have an application for a preliminary plat application to consider this afternoon. The hearing format will be, we'll start off with a presentation from staff. That would be Mr. Rodriguez, who will give us an overview of the project and what it's about. Once he's done, we'll move on to the applicants. They'll have an opportunity to speak in favor of their application. After that, then we'll move on to public comments, and any of you who want to say something about the project will have an opportunity to speak. If you should have any problems connecting or being heard or something like that, we'll have a few ways to deal with that. I'll have Mr. Rodriguez share an email address and a phone number that you can contact if you want to try to get in today. Also, we will leave the record open for a few days to give people a chance to submit email comments after the fact if they just couldn't connect today. After we're done with the public comments, we'll go back for a staff rebuttal. That'll be staff's opportunity to answer any questions that you all had and also to provide rebuttal evidence. And then finally, the applicant gets final word and a final chance to present their rebuttal evidence. I'll have about 10 business days, which is a couple weeks, to issue a final decision, and that'll be made available to those of you who want to get a copy. And there's an opportunity to appeal that. I believe it's to a Superior Court for the city of Lakewood. So now all testimony today does have to be taken under oath. So if there's any chance any of you may be speaking today, whether it be as a member of the public to provide comment by video or a telephone, or the applicant or staff, need you to raise your right hand now to be sworn in. Do you all swear or affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding? Just say I do. It doesn't matter if I hear you or not. When it's your turn to speak, I'll just ask, have you been sworn in for starters? And if you haven't been yet, it's not a big deal. I'll just swear you in at that point. Now, by state law, I'm only allowed to consider evidence that's put into the record. That way, everyone knows exactly what information is being considered to make the decision. So you all have a chance to address any of that evidence or contest it or whatever. On page 10 of the staff report, there's a list that Mr. Rodriguez put together of 20 exhibits that he wants to get into the record. Those were given to me ahead of the meeting. That includes public comment letters from Quinn, Butson, and Spearsterback and the Eisenhower Carlson PLLC. If you didn't hear your name mentioned, that means I don't have your comment letter, and let me know and we'll get that in. And also I should say there's a comment letter from Pierce County Public Works and Lakewood Public Works and the County Assessor's Office. Actually, let me share a screen on that document. I'm going to put that up on the screen for you all. There we go. Okay, and Mr. Rodriguez, is that screen visible right now, the exhibit screen?
Yes. So since then, I did send out an amendment to include an additional exhibit.
Okay.
Mr. Quinn submitted an additional comment within the notice of public hearing.
Okay, and what was the date of that comment letter? I just don't have it right. I read it, but I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, I'm sorry?
What's the date of his comment letter?
Oh, yeah, I should. It's November 25th.
Okay, great. 5/20. Okay. All right, so we have 21 exhibits so far. Now, if any of you have any problems with any of those exhibits or need to see it, let us know. There's a couple ways you can do that. At the bottom of your screen, there should be a raise hand option. And if you object to the entry of these documents or need to take a look at it, just hit your raise hand and we'll talk to you about that. I don't see any raised hands. Also, Ramon, do you know, can we, if someone says something, or is everyone on mute right now, do you know, or not?
Everybody is on mute right now.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So we just do it with a raised hand. Let me I don't see any objections, so I will go ahead and enter those documents into the record. Let me, shoot, let's see here. There we go. I'm going to stop the share. And at this point, Ramon, could you share your email address and phone number in case everyone has problems connecting or saying something?
Sure, it's rrodriguez@cityoflakewood.us.
Okay. Do you have it in writing somewhere maybe where you could just flash it on the screen? Is it on your PowerPoint maybe or something like that?
Maybe what I'll do is I'll share my email.
Okay, that's great.
And I'll share my screen.
There we go. All right, perfect. A little small, but you can see it there, Mr. Rodriguez. Is that phone number working right now, Mr. Rodriguez? If people can't connect, can they phone that too, or?
I actually put my phone on do not disturb. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
I can take that off.
Okay. Yeah, why don't you do that? If any of you have any problems connecting or need to see a document or, object to any of those documents, if your raised hand wasn't working, just let Mr. Rodriguez know. And that would be either by calling the phone number there or sending an email, and that's it. So, all right, hearing no objections, I'll go ahead and admit exhibits 1 through 21. I do see there's some people are using chat. We can't, that's really not going to work for this proceeding, because if there's communications between me and persons on chat, that has to be made part of the record, and that gets kind of complicated. So I'm not going to look at that. If you have any problems, be sure to email Mr. Rodriguez there at his email address. So with that, I think Mr. Rodriguez, we're ready to go with you, and you have been sworn in. I saw you swear yourself in, so go ahead and tell us what this project is about.
Okay, so should I leave the shared video or the shared screen on, or do you want to?
No, you can take it off at this point. Yeah, we'll bring it back up when we get to public comments in case there are any problems.
I'm having a little bit of trouble with it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with leaving it up, I suppose. That's fine.
Okay. And just for clarification, you referenced it as a preliminary plat. It's a plat alteration.
Right.
The beginning of the record. It just okay. So first off, I would like to submit an additional exhibit. It's an amendment to the staff report. This would be the third amendment to the staff report. The amendment to the staff report is to revise the project's listed area on pages 1, 2, 3, and 6, which would change the listed project area from 5.98 to 4.8 acres in size. The area included lots 33 and 19, which are not part of this plat alteration. It was an error in the staff report. So
okay.
To clear up that.
So that's just wording you changed in the staff report, and it's limited to that change you just said. All right. Any objections to entry of the amended staff report as Exhibit 22? Don't see any objections, so I'll admit that as well as Exhibit 22. All right, go ahead, Mr. Rodriguez.
Okay, my name is Ramon Rodriguez. I am the project planner for LU 2000014, a plat alteration for the Tacoma Country and Golf Club North Plat. The city of Lakewood received a plat alteration request to alter Tacoma Country and Golf Club North Plat on January 22nd, 2020. Due to COVID and the governor's order restricting public meetings, the project has been delayed for a public hearing. The applicant originally wanted to wait to have an in-person hearing. However, with the uncertainty of when that would happen, the applicant chose to proceed with a public hearing via Zoom. The plat alteration will include the alteration of Tacoma Country and Golf Club North Plat lots numbers 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38. The plat alteration will also include the creation of Track A and an ingress and egress utility easement, which will create a single vehicle access point into the proposed plat alteration. All lots to be altered are proposed to be at a minimum 25,000 square feet. The area to be altered is 4.8 acres. According to the submitted geotechnical report and updated geotechnical evaluation conducted by Aspect Consulting LLC, the topography of the site consists of relatively flat bench with soil berms on the north, west, and east sides. The lots proposed to be altered are currently vacant. A single vehicle access point via Track A and an ingress and egress utility easement is proposed to access all lots to be altered. The entrance for the vehicle access point to be located on Tacoma and Golf Club North Plat, southern boundary located in existing lot 38. Pursuant to Lakewood Municipal Code 12-10.061, driveway location shall be unified whenever possible to create fewest number of access onto a street. Currently, all lots in question have street frontage access off of Gravity Lake and Country Club Lane Southwest. If developed without the proposed plat alteration, the lots would gain their access off Gravity Lake and Country Club Lane, with each lot having its own individual driveway. The subject site is located within the R1 zoning district. The maximum density for the R1 zoning district is 4.5 dwelling units per acre, with the minimum lot size of 25,000 square feet, gross square feet. The plat alterations density as proposed is 1.66. The plat alteration is consistent with the city's minimum lot size required for the R1 zoning district, but not consistent with the density associated with the R1 zoning district. Pursuant to Lakewood Municipal Code 18A.20.210B, non-conforming lots may not be altered in a way that would increase the degree of non-conformance. The proposed plat alteration would not alter the existing plat in a way that it would increase the degree of nonconformity, as the proposed density would not increase. Existing lots 30, 31, 32, and 38 all have areas less than 25,000 square feet currently. The proposed plat alteration would alter lots 30, 31, 32, and 38 to have a minimum lot size of 25,000 gross square feet, making the plat more conforming to the current standards associated with the R1 zoning district. Properties in the surrounding area are developed as single-family lots ranging from 16 to 70,000 square feet. The majority of the platted lots within the neighborhood contain lots within 20,000 square feet or greater. The proposed plat alteration would have a minimum of 25,000 square feet and is consistent with the existing development patterns and will complement the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Per Lakewood Municipal Code 14.2.070E and WAC 197-11.800, the proposal is exempt from requiring SEPA review, as the proposal will have less than 9 dwelling units. Pursuant to Lakewood Municipal Code 18A.20.330, a notice of application was issued on February 13th, 2020 with a 15-day comment period. For public comments were received, 4 public comments were received during that period, as referenced in the staff report. 1 new comment was received during the notice of public hearing identified in exhibit number 21. The proposed plat alteration is consistent with the goals and policies of the Lakewood Comprehensive Plan and complies with the general standards found in 18A. The proposed project as conditioned will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment. Community development staff recommends approval of the proposed plat alteration of Tacoma Country and Golf Club North Plat, application number LU 20000014, to alter Tacoma Country and Golf Club North Plat lots 30, 31, 32, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, The plat alteration will also include the creation of Tract A and an ingress and egress utility easement subject to the conditions below. Final plat alteration. The final plat alteration recorded at Pierce County's Auditor's Office shall be consistent with the plans prepared by Contour Engineering dated November 24th, 2020. Minor modifications will require approval of the Community Development Director and Public Works Department. Major modifications will require an amended plat alteration. Tree removal permit is required prior to removal of any significant trees. The project shall be subject to Lakewood Municipal Code Article 3, tree preservation. Prior to final approval and recordation of the plat alteration, new addresses provided by Lakewood building official found in Exhibit 19 shall be included in the plot map. Prior to any grading, filling, cutting, clearing, excavating, ditching, or creating impervious surface, the applicant shall acquire a site development permit. That concludes my summary of the staff report.
Okay, thanks, Ramon. Could you actually stop share at this point? I want to have some questions about the plat alteration map, and I need to share it.
Sure. Let me figure out how to.
Yeah, there should be a stop share button. I can't remember if it's on the top or the bottom of your frame, but either one.
Oh, I see it.
Oh, there you go. Okay, great. Let me get mine up.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Just getting used to this technology. All right. So do you see the Exhibit 3, the plat alteration map on the screen at this point?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So on this map here, I was just curious, the Country Club Road that's depicted here that I'm kind of showing with my cursor, is that the actual location of the asphalt, or is that the easement that's on the plat? Do you know?
So page 2 shows the actual location of the road a little better.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, when I play around with this, it does stuff like that. So I can't. Okay. Let me get out of there if I can. Okay. I believe that okay, so page 2, you say? This is sheet 4.
I believe so. That's the survey.
Yeah, so this is the actual location of the road here, or not?
Well, no, like can you go to it's page, I believe it's page 204 or 304. There it is. Yeah, page 304.
Yeah,
page 304 shows the actual location of the road.
But you don't know, because I'm more interested in how the road relates to the proposed configuration. So I really want to know what this line is, if that's the actual location or the easement.
No, that's so the hard solid black line is right. The edge of the plat, but then you could see it's offset approximately 40 feet to the east is where the road is at the entrance.
Okay.
Currently.
Okay.
So you see that second line. You see that there is more like the drive approach.
All right. Yeah, because I was trying to understand. I'm just trying to figure out where the.
Yeah. So you see it a little better on.
Yeah.
On the
that doesn't really. I mean, what I really need is to know how this road interacts with the lots in the buildable area. So this isn't going to show it for me then. Not really.
Right.
This doesn't depict the 60-foot setback then.
Yeah. So up on the north portion of the plat, it's off. The road is off away from the plat about approximately 40 feet. Okay. But it does encroach. It encroaches on the existing lots on the southern portion, and it's shown on page 3 again. If you go up, you'd see the encroachment on page 3, not page 4.
Okay, so this dotted line, that's what's this dot?
That's the building, the original building restriction line that was established at the time of the plat.
So the building restriction line is supposed to be 60 feet from the road, right? According to covenants or not?
It doesn't say from the road, it just shows it on the map. And
I see.
And Frank.
Okay.
So
this line is pretty well set. It's not dependent on the actual location of the.
Right.
So we have the covenant saying it's 60 feet from the road, and then we have the map.
Well, it doesn't say from the road. It just shows it on the map.
Oh, okay. So there's no covenant because there's no copy of the covenants in the record. So I don't know what it says. So
okay, I can.
My understanding from the letters is that there was supposed to be a covenant saying 60 feet from the right of way, and that's what Mr. Quinn.
Which is shown as 60 feet from the right of way. I don't think there's verbiage that says from the road.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to have to figure that out because we can't be creating lots that are unbuildable essentially, or we need to avoid that. And so I need to be able to interpret this map here. So, and this has gotten a lot more complicated now. So is this the buildable area then or not of lot 38?
Yeah, that little triangle is a buildable area.
Okay, is that sufficient area for building a home there? How many square feet about is that? Do you know?
I could figure it out real quick.
Yeah, well, I guess I can too, but okay, so yeah, I'll do that myself. Also, there was a comment about steep slopes. Which 3 lots were those? And I don't recall which ones they were. It was like 30, 31, 32 or something.
Right, but
the Eisenhower letter.
Right. So the history of the property that they've been dumping organics, and so as part of the site development permit, they'll export a great deal of that, and then at that point we'll examine a geotech, or may require a geotechnical study to see what the existing conditions of slopes are.
Okay, yeah. So there's a lot of compost from the golf course that was placed here, and that's kind of what's created the steep slopes. Then is that the underlying problem?
Correct.
And you're saying
Correct.
that at building stage, then the city's critical areas ordinance will require a geotech report if there are those slopes.
Right.
I mean, is there a possibility that under the critical areas ordinance, one of these lots would be rendered unbuildable? It seems like with artificial slopes, usually you can just get a geotech analysis of how to excavate it properly, and then you're good to go. And I read the geotech report. They seem to already conclude that's possible, right? With the
correct
configuration. All right. Okay. So that's covered. Let's see. All right. Okay. Yeah. And I think I would, I'll just ask it if there are any objections. I want to get those CC&Rs in. I'm not, as a hearing examiner, I don't have jurisdiction to render any final interpretation on what they mean. That's up for the courts, but it is my responsibility to see if there's any likelihood that any of the resulting lots here would be unbuildable or difficult to build. And so I think the covenants are relevant for that purpose. Let me stop share here. I'm going to put up my exhibit list that I have so far. So we're at exhibit 23. Are there any objections over entering the covenants for this plat as exhibit 23? If there are, raise your hand. And I see there's a Robert Casey. Let me, Mr. Casey, was your intent to object there? Let's say, can we unmute him, Ramon?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Casey, and you'll have to unmute yourself too. Did you have an objection to entry of the covenants?
Excuse me. No, I had, before the hearing, I think it was yesterday or day before, I told Mr. Rodriguez that as counsel for one of the parties of record, I did want to reserve the right to be able to make inquiries of the witnesses. And that was why I had pushed raised my hand at some point there, because I wanted to be able to ask Mr. Rodriguez a question or two about his staff report. I'm not objecting to the covenants coming in, Those
Okay.
should be a part of the record. They're a part of the permit application requirements, I know, so they should be in the
Okay.
record.
All right, so I'll admit Exhibit 22. And Mr. Casey, yeah, you go ahead. If you have some questions of Mr. Ramon, you can pose those now.
Okay. Thank you. My clients, the Conleys, own approximately a 2-acre parcel immediately west of this plat. It's a 2-acre waterfront parcel at 100 Shore Acres Road. They will be sharing an access with this proposed plat if it is approved, or the plat amendment is approved. A couple of questions on the tree retention plan. I'm probably using the wrong term for that, but they're looking at the exhibit number 4, which I believe is the tree retention plan. It shows that some trees within a buffer may be removed, and it lists the relevant ordinance. And that's in apparently the perimeter of the property, but I'm wondering what is the potential basis that those trees could be removed?
Okay, do you want me to share the document, or should I just answer the?
I think it's up to you, Mr. Rodriguez. If you think that'll help you clarify or answer, go ahead and share.
Okay. So you're asking, what is the possibility of removal of the trees within the 60-foot boundary?
Let me, now that you have this up, it's a little easier to be able to ask my question. So south is at the bottom. You got vacated Taylor Street that you see there. And then my client's property is immediately south of, I think, new lots 1 and 2. And you can see that there is something right at the bottom of the page that says significant trees and 20-foot buffer may be removed that it's got the ordinance. And I'm wondering what's the basis of trees potentially being removed in that area? Is it because of it would interfere with the buildable lot area, or is it for view? Or I just want to have some clarification on that.
Yeah, no. So I believe what that section is allowing for removal of any development that would be necessary to happen.
Okay.
So that's an exception to the code that you should maintain a 20-foot perimeter buffer, with the exception that you need to remove, let's say, for a driveway, utilities, things like that.
Okay, I guess my concern, looking at page 3 of your staff report, it's got the tree preservation requirements, and it lists the relevant ordinance there, and then it has perimeter trees, and it gives the basis for trees that may be removed. And I guess my concern is it's got a reference there to vision clearance. And I want to make sure that vision clearance isn't to improve view and wouldn't be applied in that area. It sounds to me that's more something that would apply to sight distance, view issues on entrance and exit roads, that type of thing. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So trees can't be removed within that buffer purely to improve views, but it could be because of the other listed criteria in there.
Right. To allow for development, access, utilities, things like that.
Okay, good. Then the next question is on the road, easement road, or the main road for the country club, which encroaches into this parcel. The hearing examiner raised some question about that. It's, I guess you'd look at Exhibit 3. You almost have to try to hold one page over the other, but pages 3 and 4, page 3 shows the encroachment. And it's on lots 36, 37, 38. And it, in the next page, page 4, you see, I guess it does still retain 36 and 38 as reference lots there, but that's where this encroachment is. Is that correct? And the new lots 36 and 38.
I'm sorry, what is the question again?
Okay, so the road encroachment, if it was shown on Exhibit 3, page 4, you'd see it on lots 36 and 38 of Exhibit 3, page 4, right?
Correct.
Okay. And looking at, again, at your staff report, I think it's in response to maybe a question that I raised. Let's see if I can find it here. I'm not quite clear what is going to be required of the developer, the owner, to deal with that encroachment.
Sorry, are you asking, does the road encroach on proposed lot reconfiguration 38?
Okay.
Is that the question?
No, the way that I look at page 4 of exhibit, or actually pages 3 and 4 of exhibit 3,
Okay.
is that the country club road encroaches on what will be the new lots 36 and 38.
Yeah, what's your question, Mr. Casey?
Yeah, so
Okay.
here's the road encroachment on so you can see the road encroachment
Right.
is shown here on page 3, and it encroaches on existing lots 36, 37, 38.
Okay. I guess part of our problem here is that that encroachment isn't shown on the next page.
Right, yeah.
I think from my own drawing a line there, it appears that it's on lots 36 and 38.
Right, for the new
Right.
proposed
Okay.
lots.
Okay. Now let me go to your staff report, the bottom of page 5, and I think I'm dealing with the one that came out yesterday, the staff report that came out yesterday. It has the staff response to the issues that I raised in my letter of last March. And the last paragraph, just above where you have agency comments, the last sentence says, in order to align the 60-foot building restriction with the existing road, the applicant would have to provide an agreement signed by all parties, subject to the covenants, providing the parties agree to terminate or alter the relevant covenants pursuant to RCW 5817-215. Okay.
Okay, Yeah,
I guess
so
my question is, what happens if there is no agreement with the other lot owners in this plat to make a change?
so my response to that comment was, uh, you know, whether or not that building setback line should be altered, and my response to that would be, if you know that the applicant was not proposing to uh, realign that building setback line, and in fact, if they tried to uh, establish that building setback line, then they would need, since that easement affects everybody in the plat, they would need agreement from everybody to alter that. So they're not proposing to alter that, but we also don't believe that they need to alter that line based
Okay.
on how the plat was set up, and based on what the building restriction line shows on the plat.
Okay, so will the applicant be required to move Country Club Road over so it is within the dedicated easement?
Can you see this? So the applicant sent me this document. I was just able to upload it. Can everybody see? Can you see this?
Yes. Yeah. So
So that shows. Okay, and it it is the opinion of the city that the road would not have to move. That I would say it's up to it's a private matter.
Okay. Is the applicant being allowed to count toward the minimum lot size requirements the portion of the road that encroaches into these lots?
Yes, they are currently counting towards the square footage of those lots.
And why is that?
It would be based on the opinion that the road is a I'm blanking on the term, easement by prescription based on how it's been used, and easements count towards the gross square footage of lots.
Okay, now we know that this isn't an express easement, but are you saying then that easements by prescription count toward?
Because it's been that way since the 40s when it was established.
Okay, I think that answers my questions.
okay, thanks, Mr. Casey. So, Mr. Rodriguez, just to clarify, so the standard position on the city in interpreting minimum lot size is that private easements, and does that include private roads then as well, count towards the minimum lot size?
Not a private road that's set up on a track.
Oh, I see. Okay, so but if it's in a separate track, then you wouldn't count it. But if it's just some access easement, then it
yes, it does count towards it. Yes.
And I mean, has that issue come up before in applications before the staff? Is this an interpretation the staff has applied throughout the years, or is this the first time you guys have dealt with it?
This specific situation, or easements in general, it's outlined in the code that it is counted towards.
Oh, it's expressly in the code. Oh, okay. All right. Do you recall where in the code that's addressed, or?
That easements are counted towards. I could possibly pull it up here
Oh,
shortly.
no, yeah, I just thought in case you know off the top of your head, I can find it. That's part of my
I
job.
don't know the code. I don't know the code section, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine.
If you've still got me on here, I think I do.
Okay,
Okay, I think it's code section 18A.60.110C.
oh, perfect. Okay, thanks. Yeah,
And it refers specifically to easements. It doesn't say anything about prescriptive easements.
Okay,
Okay.
good issue. And then Mr. Rodriguez, referring back to, and I don't think you need to share the screen. It was sheet 3 of the plat map. It showed the proposed lot configuration and that building's setback line, the 60-foot line. So is it staff's position then that it's okay to build that? I mean, that the applicant may be stuck in that small buildable area, but that's otherwise fine. I mean, does staff has staff considered the fact that is it possible to build a home in that small area or not? I mean, like I say, I just can't get a feel for how much space there actually is there to build something.
Yeah, we've looked at that. We agree it is a small space, but it's up to, we don't have any development standards that would prohibit, a small home.
Right. Yeah. But I think that, the criteria for approval is that in the public interest to allow the lot alteration. And it seems to me one of the issues is we don't want to build a lot that's too small to build on and end up faced with a variance request after the fact. Somebody go, oh, look, my lot's too small to build, so I need to, to get a variance to the setbacks that the city imposes or something in the back, because they can't get around the covenants or something like that. So, it seems like it could be relevant, the amount of buildable space. Do you have any, I guess maybe, yeah. Do you have any rough estimate as to how much buildable space there is? Could we put in a tiny house there or a skinny house there if they had to? Or I guess that's like a 200-foot deal. So.
No, yeah, I'm unfortunately, the scale is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, I can figure that out, but it's I always like to get the expert planner's opinion on scale and that kind of thing. So, okay. No, those all the questions I had so far. Let's move it on then to the applicants and who's here on behalf of the applicant? Do you see them on the participant panel there, Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, Bill Lind is raising his hand.
Okay, all right, Mr. Lynn, why don't we get you in there, unmute yourself, and I take it are you counsel for the applicant, Mr. Lynn?
I am, yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Okay, all right, go ahead then.
Thank you. I just want to make a few introductory comments, then I'll turn it over to a couple of witnesses we have that will be able to address some of these issues with a little more specificity. I just wanted to introduce this by saying these are 8 lots right now. There are 8 lawful lots under the city's code. You can go in and pull building permits on the current 8 lots today. What's being proposed here is a reconfiguration of those lots. Basically, you're just being asked to review a change in the shape of those lots, which in and of itself is not a significant event. What's important is that the lots will be brought into conformance, either are in conformance or will be required to conform to current city proposals, even though the city didn't even exist in 1946. So every single one of the city's codes that are referenced in the staff report will be complied with by the proposal. And the evidence shows from the staff report, and we can repeat it today, not only are the current codes being met, but the revised access plan actually improves public safety. So there's a benefit there. You are not provided much guidance in the statute as to what the basis for your decision is. It says you're supposed to determine whether the public interest is served by the proposal. Unfortunately for you, you don't have to guess or hear me describe what the public interest is or imagine it, because it's established by the comprehensive plan and by the zoning codes and the critical areas ordinances and all the other regulations that apply. Those express the public interest in the view of the city of Lakewood. Those are the manifestation of what serves the public when it comes to land use issues. So the project complying with those and actually doing so better than the current configuration, in our view, clearly serves the public interest. Let me just quickly address this covenant issue. It is unusual because unlike the covenants that all of us are most used to that are explicit and in words, here we basically have a line on a piece of paper that it happens to have been 60 feet from the road as originally envisioned, and it is not in a couple of places 60 feet from the road as it exists. The important thing from the perspective of the plat alteration process is that we're not proposing to alter that part of the plat. That line will remain as a no build area. And there may well be litigation well, it wouldn't be by Mr. Casey because his client isn't a beneficiary of the covenants, but it could be by others who have raised the same issue. There could be litigation about that, but that would be for a superior court to interpret. I suppose it bears pointing out that if the road is in the wrong location, it could be relocated to the correct location, and that would solve the problem. But again, that's for another day. The short story, though, from our perspective, is that we're not proposing to alter anything with respect to that line that demarks where you can build and where you can't. And therefore, there is no covenant issue invoked by our request for plat alteration. You hear from three people, either 2 or 3 people from on behalf of the club. First, Jeremy Haug from Contour Engineering. As the engineer responsible for the project, he'll talk a little bit more about the layout and the access and the drainage. Then Barb Dalton, who's the president of the club, has a few words. And then Paul Krakow, who's managed this process on behalf of the club, is here, and he may have something to add after that. And in conclusion, of course, I'd like an opportunity to respond to comments that are made or questions that come up. That's all I have.
Well, Mr. Lund, let me, while I've got you there, you heard part of my concern about public interest criteria, and you're right, it is pretty broad. But I think one way you could look at it is it's not in the public interest to create lots that are unbuildable and force the applicant's hand into requesting a variance. I mean, in this case, if that line stays where it is, like I said, the city could be faced with a variance request. The person saying, I can't get around this covenant, so I need a variance to the rear yard setback or something so that I can build a reasonably sized home. So isn't the covenant in that sense kind of relevant to public interest analysis and something that I should consider in this application?
Good question. And I think the answer is that the proposal is to leave the line exactly where it is. And the applicant believes that the lot is buildable as it's configured.
So even with the buildable space you have right now that's proposed, essentially, if that line stays in place, that's enough space for the applicant to build.
Yeah, that's the position of the applicant. That's our proposal. So
okay, yeah, okay. Thank you for that clarification. So who is your first witness again?
Mr. Haug.
Okay, Mr. Haug, is Ramon? Do you have him unmuted? Mr. Haug, you there?
I have not unmuted him.
Okay.
I have to. What's his first name?
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Haug, you need to unmute yourself. There you go. And Mr. Haug, have you been?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, Mr. Haug, have you been sworn in?
I have.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Lynn.
So again, my name is Jeremy Haug with Contour Engineering. I'm a civil engineer, and I've been kind of working with the applicant on the preliminary grading and the layout. So just to kind of go back to the question on that lot 8, the buildable area, taking into account the setbacks, is about 3,100 square feet, which is more than adequate for a modest home footprint. So just to kind of touch base with what Ramon said, I mean, there is, per the geotechnical report that we have, there's a substantial amount of organic material on the site. It will need to be removed and some structural material placed to make the site buildable. So with that, the grades will be lowered substantially from what they are currently because of that material being removed. But again, all that needs to be worked through and vetted out through the site development permitting process, which is the next step in the project. Storm drainage will be maintained on site through infiltration because the underlying soils are very good for very permeable. Utilities and everything are within the existing corridor of Country Club Lane. Yeah, I mean, that kind of sums up kind of just a general overview.
And Mr. Helga, I didn't study the geotech reports in detail yet. From what I recall, it sounded like they looked at the sites and said, yeah, you can build on those safely. Is that pretty much where they're at? They just don't have the express details of what the actual grades are going to be at this point and that kind of thing? Correct.
I believe there's, it depends on how much material actually has to be removed of the organic material. It is substantial, but yes, even with that, and there's some that can be remained on site, but there's certain foundations of those structures that could, pin piles and other foundation methods. It is definitely buildable. Each lot is buildable.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hogg. Appreciate your testimony. All right, Mr. Lynn, who was your next witness?
Barb Dalton.
Okay. Mr. Rodriguez, let's get her on board. All right, Ms. Dalton, you'll need to unmute yourself. Okay, Ms. Dalton, have you been sworn in?
I have.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Barb Dalton, and I am the president of the Tacoma Country and Golf Club. I'm here today representing the TCGC board and 73% of our 360 voting members who approve of this application. In 2018, the board, as managers of the business affairs, properties, and assets, determined that we had a fiduciary responsibility to the membership to protect one of our assets, which is the 4.8 acres described in today's application. In February 2018, the board appointed an ad hoc committee to oversee the entitlement of the property. The Land Development Committee, or LDC, was formed and met for the first time on March 28, 2018. The goal was to entitle the 4.8 acres to maximize the value of these parcels of land. The preliminary land development package took approximately 5 months to complete, and on September the 4th, 2018, the board and the LDC presented the preliminary land development package to the membership that included entitling the lots from 10 to 13 lots, which was effectively an upzone of 3 on the east side and 10 on the west side, with 2 points of ingress and egress. The LDC and board listened to the concerns from the few of our members regarding entitling 13 lots. The LDC has addressed their concerns to include maintaining the tree canopy that lines Country Club Lane, reducing the number of entitled lots, maintaining the 60-foot buffer on the west side of the existing drive, and minimizing the ingress and egress onto Country Club Lane. The primary focus of these concerned members, who are primarily neighboring landowners, is to maintain the private setting of Country Club Lane as they enter Tacoma Country and Golf Club. In January 2019, we sent a survey to our 360 voting members to understand if they were for or against moving forward with entitling the land. The board received 73% approval to move forward with the application process. Prior to the September 2018 special membership meeting, the LDC chair and others met with Mr. Joe Quinn regarding the land entitlement. Since the special meeting, the LDC has hosted 2 open houses in 2019 and 1 in 2020 to update the membership of the progress to date. The board believes that we have been as transparent with our membership regarding status reports as previous land development committees at our club. Today, we are here requesting the plat alteration of only 8 lots, which is the same number currently platted. In closing, the board has a fiduciary responsibility to our membership, which is why the board hopes that you will approve our plat alteration application. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ms. Dalton. And Mr. Lynn, I believe you had one final witness.
Mr. Krakow, Paul, are you do you have additional comments?
And just give Mr. Rodriguez a chance to get him up.
I don't see him by name.
Is that Charlie Brown? Maybe I see a raised hand for Charlie Brown there.
Let's allow him. No?
Charlie Brown is not Mr. Krakow, but I wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to comment in this section as well.
Yeah, we'll get to the public comment in just a minute. We're just finishing up with the applicant comments. Mr. Kraken, if you want to say something, just raise your virtual hand at this point. All right.
I don't see him by name. Perhaps does he have, did he call in by number?
Yeah, and I believe if he called it by number, you could do *9 and that would show up as a virtual hand. So,
well, I mean, there's only one number, so I don't know if that's him.
oh, okay. That's the 206-412-369.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, hit *9 if that's Mr. Kraken. Okay. Yeah, we don't see it. And again, you have Mr. Rodriguez's email. Why don't you?
K?
Hmm?
Could it be K?
Okay.
I thought I heard him.
Could it be K?
There we go. If it's
Thank you,
if that's you, Mr. Kraken, unmute yourself. No. All right. Well, Mr. Rodriguez, why don't you put up your email and phone number again? If Mr. Kraken is trying to get through, he can email you and you guys can figure out what to do. And also, I want to, we're heading into the public comment portion. Want to open it up for everybody else. Now, Mr. Lynn, you said you wanted to make some concluding comments. I take it that would be at the rebuttal phase, right?
Correct.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So, Mr. Rodriguez, you can just share your phone number and email address again real quick.
Okay.
There it is. Okay, yeah. So now we're moving to the public comments. If any of you want to comment at this point, hit your virtual hand button, and then we'll put you up on the screen to get your comments. If for some reason that's not working for you, then go ahead and email or call Mr. Rodriguez there. You see his phone number and his email address. I believe, right, Mr. Rodriguez, email would be preferable so that you can kind of monitor the hearing and respond to emails at the same time. Like
Mr.
everyone else.
Examiner?
Yeah.
Mr. Examiner, this is Bob Casey. I guess I'm unmuted so you can hear me. I did have a question for Mr. Haug, the engineer.
Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Howe, can you come back on, please? Let's see. I can't tell because I got my share screen up. Where is he there?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay. There you go. Okay, Mr. Casey, go ahead.
Yep.
Question.
Okay. And looking at Exhibit 4, which I think is the only topo map we have of the site. If there's a better one, let me know. But now looking at the geotech report, the way I read that, it looked like there was about 40,000 cubic yards of material that needs to be dealt with. And I think that report, which is 15 years old, said that 28,000 would likely have to be disposed of offsite, and some of the remaining material, or the 12,000 or so, could potentially be reused on site. Do you have any idea where that material, or where we're going to see on this topo map the elevation of the property lowered, and how much?
That material, again, that 30%, it's unclear depending on what, the condition of that 30%, if it would be mixed with import structural material to the satisfaction, or if it would be placed in kind of landscaping, non-structural bearing areas. It's unclear at this time. That's something that we'd have to explore and determine once we kind of get into the permitting stage. To answer your second question, we've gone through a couple different kind of just conceptual looks at lowering that what it would be, and it does lower it quite a bit. I don't have that in front of me as far as the value, but it does lower that plateau area enough where it does minimize that slope to the west, I guess, towards the vacated Taylor Street. Does that answer your question?
Well, we're kind of it sounds like everybody's shooting in the dark a bit on what this site's going to look like, assuming it ever is developed. But I mean, 40,000 cubic yards is, it's roughly, I think you're talking about 2,000 dump truck loads of material. If you look at, 12, 15 cubic yards in a dump truck, that's a lot of stuff to move off of there. And do we know if it's all going to be in the area where the houses are shown on Exhibit 4, or is it going to be from other places on the site where it's going to be removed?
I don't believe, the geotechnical report that was done back in 2005 did provide kind of some exhibits in there that kind of detail, based on their borings, kind of the area of where that material, where they approximated that area and material to be. And it sits right, it's kind of hard to place it based on the aerials and all that, but it's right in that area of that plateau. That kind of flat area as it drops off is where all those borings were. They didn't take any samples along the existing slopes from that flat area down. It was primarily on the top. So I think it needs to be further, once you get in there and start kind of excavating out, you kind of have the geotech on site determining, where they need to go and how much actually comes off. That's why it's really hard to say at this point until we get to more into the permit stage.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Lynn, did you have any follow-up questions you wanted to ask of Mr. Hogue?
No.
Okay, all right. Well, as I was saying, we're now moving on to the public comment portion of the hearing. If you want to participate, hit your virtual hand and we'll call you in the order that I have on my participant list here. And when I get to the as before, if you have any problems raising your hand or you're not called for some reason and we don't know you're there, go ahead and email Mr. Rodriguez. You should probably write down his phone number and email address right now, because we won't be keeping this up, for the entire public comment portion. But contact Mr. Rodriguez if you can't get in. And also, as I said, we'll leave the record open for a few days afterwards, just in case people had technical problems and were unable to participate today. So with that, well, let's let Mr. Brown up. Mr. Brown, why don't you unmute yourself and let's start off. Have you been sworn in?
No, sir, I have not.
Okay, let me swear you in real quick. You swear affirm to tell the truth, nothing but the truth in this proceeding?
I do.
All right, okay, go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity to comment on this proceeding. I am a member of the Tacoma Country and Golf Club and a former president, and have been involved in this particular process from the beginning. And I want to put on record that certainly I fully support the proposal that's being put forward. I think that the beauty of this particular proposal is that we are not asking to create more lots. We're simply asking to modify the boundary lines for that for that particular parcel and allow for the homes to be put into that area. We also are leaving certainly the buffers that the members have raised as concerns in the earlier conversations that we've had with the membership, both at the public meetings that we had within the membership itself and with the letters and other methods of communication of concern that were raised by the membership. So again, this is not proposing to modify the existing number of lots. It's to allow it to stay with the same number of lots and just modify the boundaries, which is really all this proposal is about. And then the next phase is certainly will go into the construction phase and all the other sundry items that go along with that. Again, it's important to note that we're not proposing to change that boundary setback line, which is that 60-foot buffer that kind of gets into the question about where the road is and et cetera. The proposal by the club as we envision it right now, as I understand it, is to allow for really smaller square footage homes to be placed in those areas in each of those lots. So we're talking about 2,500 square foot to 2,800 square foot homes. In conversations, we believe that those homes are in demand in the area. Certainly, there are members of the country club who all would like to purchase a lot and have a home to be able to downsize, but still be there on the country club grounds. And it will allow for housing in the city of Lakewood, which is within that mid-range of costs. We all know that the city of Lakewood has homes that are very low value homes, and then they've got some very high value homes. And it's kind of an inverted bell curve where the mid-range value of homes does not seem to be as prevalent there in Lakewood. And that's what we expect to see happen on these particular lots. So we believe that we would absolutely agree with the staff report on the proposal as satisfying the codes and requirements for this particular proceeding. We believe that moving forward with the boundary line adjustments then allows us to move to the next phase of determining whether or not we even move forward. And it's important to note that nothing really could even happen in the first place until once we get the entitlement of the property, then we can bring it to the vote of the membership of the club as to whether we sell that property for the development of those lots. So there are a number of other steps that would take place. So with that, I would be happy to take any questions that you might have. Again, just thank you very much for this time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brown. Very, very helpful testimony. All right, let's move on now to, looks like Glenda Sinclair. Ramon, you want to put her up? And Ms. Sinclair, you'll have to unmute yourself. Should be a button at the bottom of your screen. Uh-oh. There you go. Okay, Ms. Sinclair, have you been sworn in?
It's Paul Crocco, not Ms. Sinclair.
Okay.
I've been sworn in.
You have been. Okay. All right. Okay, go ahead. And what's your name, sir, again? Your last name?
I am Paul Crocco, a board member with the Tacoma Country
Club.
Okay,
great. Thank you.
I had a challenge to get on. I finally got on, so here we are.
All right.
I'm also the chair of the Land Development Committee. As the LDC committee, we have in charge of creating a sensitive site plan that represents the interest of club members. To that end, the solution was one-story detached homes on large lots in keeping with the established homes in the North Country Club Plat. I'd like to stop there and talk about lot number 8. The square footage, buildable square footage of lot 8 is 3,100 square feet. That'll be greater than the square footage we are looking at in the marketplace. As Charlie Brown indicated, the market is somewhere in that 2,500 to 2,800 square feet. So with the buildable area, that'll be adequate to build the same product that we're building on the other lots. Maybe the configuration of the home's a little different, because of the configuration of the lot, but nevertheless, we have adequate square footage. So I think that helps clarify that concern. Why the redesign of the existing plat? The lots as currently laid out are effectively not buildable. The issues are many, but first, how did we get to the design in the application? The process started back in March of 2018 when the committee met for the first time, as previously stated by Barb Dalton. The committee's initial thinking was to develop 13 homes available to the marketplace, given the undersupply of high-end housing in Lakewood. To this day, membership continues to not find suitable housing in and around Lakewood. Further, to achieve an interest in more housing in the club, we initially focused on an upzone of 13 lots on the subject property, together with the lots on the east side of Country Club Drive. After much discussion with neighbors, club members, and the Lakewood planning staff, we settled on a redesign of the 8 lots on the west side of Country Club Drive and did not include the 2 east side lots in this application. The benefits to a redesign of the 8 lots will allow the mature tree canopy along Country Club Drive to remain, and there shall not be a need to modify the existing plat covenant. Further, the proposed design will offer a more predictable traffic flow in and out of the property from Shore Acres Drive versus 5 new curb cuts along Country Club Drive and 3 on Gravelly Lake Drive. Please consider for a moment, if we develop the existing plat, trees along Country Club Drive would effectively be removed. Site distance access issues on the 3 lots fronting Gravelly Lake Drive would be so problematic to the point staff would most likely have development conditions that would challenge the feasibility of those lots. Problems would be many. Moving on, let me give you a couple of benefits of the new design. The proposed plat will allow for a better storm system, as Jeremy Haug indicated, as the area on the north end of the proposed lots 3, 4, and 5 will offer an excellent opportunity to design an effective infiltration system for the entire plat. All homes, driveways, streets will be tight-lined, including the entrance off of Shore Acres Drive, which will offer a better solution to the water runoff problems that have been plaguing that section of roadway. In closing, please know the compromise in lot count, tree retention, vegetation along Country Club Drive, and the access location of the plat have already been worked out. We are here today requesting a redesign of the existing plat that will better meet today's land development standard, and equally as important, the blending of the new homes into the iconic and historic Tacoma Country Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Krakow. And for the record, could you spell your last name?
Krakow.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. And also let me say for all of you who are listening, if you want a copy notice of the decision, which will outline what your appeal rights are, like I said, I think in Lakewood for plat alteration, it's the Superior Court, but it'll be spelled out at the end of the decision, and my reasoning will be laid out in great detail. If you want a copy of that decision, either let Mr. Rodriguez know through the chat function there, or just his email address there. Or his phone number. Like I said, I think the email address is preferable, and if you want notice by email as opposed to snail mail in the mail, that's also preferable. So either email Mr. Rodriguez your email address or your physical address, and he'll get the decision out to you, or notice of the decision out to you once that's issued. So with that, let me move on then. It looks like the next person on the list here is Mr. Joseph Quinn. So Mr. Quinn, Mr. Rodriguez, can you get Mr. Quinn up on the board?
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Quinn, you need to unmute yourself. All right, Mr. Quinn, have you been sworn in?
I have.
All right, okay, go ahead.
I only want to speak to one issue. I'm Joe Quinn, 20 Forest Glen Lane in Lakewood, within the club. My lot is directly east of lot 19 that Mr. Krakow referred to as one of the eastern lots, just on the other side of the Country Club Drive from the Plat Alteration site. And the only issue I want to speak to is the issue of the road encroachment that's been discussed at some length, and it shows very well on page 3, as was pointed out by the staff member, Mr. Rodriguez. I want to speak to it in relation to the tree canopy. The president, Mrs. Dalton, and also Paul, in a way, Paul Krakow said there was a mature tree canopy along the road, and there is a beautiful tree canopy as you enter Tacoma Country and Golf Club. A lot of the members at the public meetings spoke about preserving that, and so did the president, I think, just earlier today. And I want to speak to as to how the encroachment of the road pavement surface into lot 38, the new lot 38, cuts against preservation of the restriction. I think it's obvious that in 1946, when they created this plat and put in that building restriction line, that they wanted to keep the buildings 60 feet from the road. And it's not an easement. Country Club Drive is actually owned by the club. It's a long 40-foot wide strip, but unfortunately the road doesn't stay completely within the 40-foot strip. So if you don't want to reach this issue, you don't have to. I think the hearing examiner already said that. You could enter findings and conclusions that say you're not reaching that issue of interpreting the covenants, and therefore you don't need to rule on it one way or the other, whether the covenant is being violated or not violated, or conformed with or not conformed with, is not an issue. And that would be fine, except that the reality of that would be that if the road is left in place as paved as it is now, it would only be 52 feet or so from the road to the house, even though it's 60 feet from the building restriction line. It's not 60 feet from the road because there's an encroachment along quite a length that you saw. So it kind of defeats the whole purpose of the covenant. But I suppose that can't be resolved by the hearing examiner. So if you leave that alone, I would only say that the club has no choice really, if it wants to live with the spirit of the covenant and the intent of the covenant, that they should move part of the road over, not very much, but remove some pavement and place some pavement on the other side to make up for it so that you maintain a safe driving road width. That's my only comment. I think it's a fairly minor point in the great scheme of things at this point on this very limited plat alteration hearing. But I think the club will at some point need to address this, because frankly, I don't think you can get a prescriptive easement against yourself. The club owns both properties, the existing lots that are being replatted and the road. And there's something about adverse possession and prescriptive easements that requires hostility, and you can't be hostile to yourself. So I tend to think that the theory of a prescriptive easement is a little weak, but again, you don't need to deal with that today. That concludes my comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Quinn. Great points. All right, let's see. Does anyone else want to speak? I don't have any raised hands from people who haven't already spoken. This is your one chance. Again, if you are unable to, let Mr. Rodriguez know at that email address or phone number. All right, then. I guess we'll move back then to staff rebuttal, if any. Mr. Rodriguez, did you have any comments you wanted to make before we wrap this up?
No.
Okay, Mr. Lynn, it's back to you then.
And I have next to nothing. I just wanted to say that with reference to Mr. Casey's comments about how little we know about the geotechnical conditions, I think Mr. Haug may have answered that by just saying this is an iterative process. You remove material, the geotechnical engineer evaluates it, and somehow you arrive at a combination of soil conditions and design opportunities that leave you with a buildable site. So it's not surprising that at the stage of laying out the shape of the lots, you wouldn't have those details there to come in the ordinary course of things as you get a site development permit. Look at the critical areas code, look at the storm drainage requirements and all of that. So it's not a shortcoming of the process or of the city's review or of the applicant's burden that we don't know every detail about the lot grading at this point. So that's all I have. I don't think that there are questions we haven't addressed at one point or another, but we're happy to answer any questions you may still have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lynn. No, I think we've covered everything fairly thoroughly here. I mean, as we discussed, it's just a plat alteration, and in a lot of respects, it's fairly minor, but it does have some unique issues, which I'll be looking at closely. The road encroachment issue and the kind of the steep slope issue, I'll call it, appear to be the two most convoluted ones to review. Mr. Rodriguez, I know the staff in the first couple of virtual hearings we've held wanted to leave the record open actually for 2 weeks in case people had technical issues. Does staff still want to do that or not?
Sure, we can do that.
Well, I mean, I don't. It seems long to me. That creates a lot of delay in issuing the decision. I was thinking probably just leaving it open until Monday at 5 would be good in case people had trouble connecting. Is that okay with you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. So that's what I'll do then. For those of you who are members of the public, if you're sitting there, you're trying to connect and you can't for whatever reason, you can't figure out how to raise your hand and your email's not getting through or your computer crashed, whatever, we're giving you until next Monday at 5 o'clock to submit email comments to Mr. Rodriguez, or, if you don't have a computer or something, just give him a call and he'll make arrangements to get something in writing from you. And then the city will have until the next day, Tuesday at 5, to respond to any of those comments that come in, and then the applicant the following Wednesday to make final word on that. And then my decision then will be due December 23rd. Normally I try to get it in earlier, but I have a decision on a 5-day hearing due on. I likely won't have my decision out until the 23rd of December in any event. So with that, I appreciate all you participating.
Mr. Examiner.
Yeah, Mr. Casey.
Yeah, I was hoping to make just a couple of brief concluding comments here.
Oh, okay. All right. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm not sitting at a table in front of you, and it'd be a little
Yeah.
easier to recognize that I was hoping to say something.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Just a couple of things in closing. It's a small site relatively, but it's a problematic site. It's been referred to, I think, as a for compost. No, this has been a dump, and it's been a dump for probably 100 years. It's got 25 to 40 feet of material that's on site that's going to have to be removed. It's concerning that we
actually, Mr. Casey, let me interrupt you. I didn't swear in because you're an attorney, but you are giving a little testimony. Do you want me to swear you in then, or would you prefer just to stick to?
No, my comments are based on the exhibits that have been admitted.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's
all right.
I consider it an argument.
It's already there. Okay, all right. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just consider it argument.
Sure.
The exhibit number 8, the subsurface exploration and geotechnical evaluation, which is 15 years old, is where you get into the detail of the amount of fill on this site. It is extensive. It's of concern now at this preliminary stage to be able to give very intelligent comments about the plat, because we don't know what the topography is going to eventually be like. I question whether the potential locations of these homes as shown on the plat is even going to be feasible once you deal with the removal of up to 40,000 cubic yards of material. Be that as it may, a couple of the other issues. There is an issue with, for my clients, and it was in I believe our comment letter from back in March, at how the traffic will, the ingress and egress point for this plat. As you can see, looking on exhibit, I've got exhibit 4 right in front of me. It's the 1-page topo exhibit with the tree preservation plan. But you can see the Country Club Drive, which runs north-south, and then you have the turn into what's called Shore Acres Road, which is a very short road that then you would have to take a very quick right turn into the Plat. If you go straight on Shore Acres Road, which is a very short distance, you have 5 homes that have access. That is their point of ingress and egress into their homes. So you will have 5 homes that will be entering and leaving at the same point where this new road will be providing the ingress and egress for this Plat. There's been no study of that. The issues that could be with site distance, entering and leaving site distance, queuing, those types of things. I would ask that as a condition of approval that you require a traffic report that deals with the safety concerns of that area. As far as I think Mr. Quinn has kind of covered the issues with the road and the encroachment onto at least 2 of the proposed new lots. But I think that it is for the representatives of the country club to say that they're doing all this and preserving all this buffer along the access road. With what they're proposing, they're not doing that. They are proposing with this Plat application to eliminate at least 7 or 8 feet, I think, of the what would be the buffer there. If they'd agree to move the road over, they could preserve the 60-foot buffer. But what has been submitted, that's not the case. So it's disingenuous to say that they are going to be fully preserving that 60-foot buffer if this is approved. I also think if the road is not required to be removed or moved from the Plat, it should not be counted toward the minimum lot size requirements. It should be deducted, and they may lose a lot if they do that. They may not be able to have 8 lots, which all of these lots, if you look at the size, are within about 1 or 2 square feet of meeting the minimum requirements. And I think it's a push to be able to use a road that is, and say that should be part of the lot calculations. I understand that for the interior road, but not for an exterior road that's not going to be owned by any of these lot owners of this eventual Plat. I think that pretty much does it for me. If you have any questions, be happy to respond.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Casey. Mr. Rodriguez, did you want to make any response to those comments?
Actually, I wanted to defer to Frank Sawaski with Public Works to clarify issues about the road.
Okay, all right. Let's get him up there.
Okay, I should be unmuted.
All right, there he is. Okay, Mr. Sawatsky, are you sworn in?
I am sworn in, sir.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Earlier in the hearing, there were questions about the 60-foot buffer and how it is defined. In the Plat of 1946, the legal description of the Plat and the illustration survey that goes with that clearly indicate that the 60-foot is set back from the, shall we call it, the bold line that's on sheet 4 of 4 in the exhibits that were presented. There is no mention of the existing trail or private roadway in the 1946 Plat. There is mention of a 60-foot from the road for Forest Glen Lane, but it specifies that is for Forest Glen Lane, and that was later modified in 1948 to be only 35 feet. So as far as the platting is concerned, the road was put in 1921 based on the earlier plat of the 84 residences. But it was not defined exactly where the road is. In the 1921 plat, it just has an arrow pointing to the northeast and says continue road to Gravelly Lake, referring to Gravelly Lake Road, which was a highway back then. So the placement of the road in 1921 was not defined. And in 1946, when this area was platted, the 1920 road already existed, and it was under ownership of the country club, and the land that was platted was under ownership of the country club. I cannot vouch for the intent of the people who conducted the plat, but it does seem rather odd that they would choose to plat a residential parcel across an existing roadway. So possibly their intent was to move the road, but I cannot vouch for that. What were the other questions that were? Oh,
I think it was site distance was the big issue.
Site distance is definitely something that will be addressed. I did a quick review of it at the time this was proposed. And at the time of actual construction, we'll do an additional analysis. It may require the addition of a traffic control device, such as a stop sign at the south end of the Tract A. That would be an effective measure to prevent over queuing at the intersection of Country Club Lane and Private Road, which I've already forgotten the name of, the little short one that leads to the 5 lots.
Okay.
And it's already getting dark in my office and they turned out the lights on me.
They want you to leave. So
was-
you don't see a queuing problem then? I mean, if there is one, it can be adequately addressed by a traffic control device, in your opinion. Is that right?
Yes, I've looked at the ITE manual for the amount of traffic that would be produced by 8 single-family residences, and the numbers per hour are such a low number, even during the evening rush hour, which tends to be a slightly higher number than the morning rush hour. They're significantly low that the queuing would never be more than 2 vehicles. So not really an issue that could not be controlled by a stop sign. Other question that came up was the size of the proposed lot 38. If you look at sheet 4 of 4 from that exhibit, going in the northwest to southeast direction, you have approximately 50 feet of space that is buildable, that is outside of the 60-foot line. And then in the southwest to northeast, through the center of that lot, you have over 100 feet. So you're talking at a 50-foot by 100-foot buildable area that is beyond the 60-foot building setback, and it is more than 15 feet from the Tract A setback.
Okay. And Mr. Swatsky, you've been in front of me before, so I generally know your background. So I think we should make that part of the record, since I'm familiar with that. I believe Mr. Rodriguez said you're from the Public Works Department. Are you a traffic engineer, or what's your background?
My background is that my authority comes from the city director of engineering. My own background is 35 years as a federal agent specifically for engineering issues. I have been trained in traffic engineering. I've been trained in survey. I've been trained in horizontal construction, vertical construction, soils and materials. And
Okay,
I have certifications for all those.
All right, great. All right. Mr. Casey, did you have any questions of Mr. Swatsky? You'd have to unmute yourself.
No, I don't.
Okay. Great. All right. Mr. Lynn, did you have any questions or comments you wanted to make?
No.
Okay. Mr. Swatsky, thank you. That was very helpful too. So, all right. With that, we are done. As I was mentioning before, my decision will be out probably then on, get my calendar out here. Let's see. So we had the 9th. Looks like the 23rd is probably the latest that will come out. So again, if you want to get a copy of the decision, or at least a notice of it, go ahead and email Mr. Rodriguez, or give him a call if that doesn't work for you, over at the planning department in City Hall, and he'll get notice out to you. I appreciate you all participating this afternoon, and we're adjourned for today. Everyone have a great holiday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.